Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Valerie Mosley, and professionally, I've managed billions of dollars. I was a partner at Wellington Management Company, where we would manage money for clients and try to beat an index. And in my role there, where I was for 20 years, I was chair of what's called an industry strategy group. So we would bring equity investors and fixed income investors together and identify what are some headwinds facing industries and what are some tailwinds propelling others. And I retired 5 years ago, and I did that because I wanted to add value not only to portfolios, but I also wanted to add value to lives. And I believe that one of the most important things that's going on in this world right now is this technology that we're talking about today. Blockchain, AI, in collaboration with humans, can make an enormous difference. And the question that I want to pose to you today is, how might we take this very powerful change that's going on globally and make the world better? So with that, I have a few questions. I told you a little bit about myself, and when I left Wellington, I decided that Wellington is a $1 trillion asset management firm based in Boston with offices around the globe. I said that I would do three things. I would advise, I would message, meaning share what I know, and I'd invest. And so I'm going to welcome you to my world and talk to you about some of the companies that I've either I'm advising, or have invested in, and why. And I want to share what I know. And what I know down below is that the changes that we have, if we can either focus on the technology or we can focus on the issues and say, how can we take the technology and address some of the issues? So what's likely to happen going forward? We know that about $30 trillion is going to be transferred from the boomers. It used to be that we would invest in advance of whatever the boomers were going to do. So as we were getting older, we wanted to get involved with healthcare because we knew that the boomers were going to be spending money on that. It makes sense. Investing is really not rocket science, but it is special and it's exciting, and I love it. Now we know a lot of that money is going to transfer. And do you know who it's going to? Millennials and women. Women increasingly own a fair amount. I'm just going to jump ahead. Women increasingly, if you look at 2010 and a relatively short period of time, 2020, are going to be owning much more of the wealth. And women care a lot, just like many of you do, and millennials care a lot about how they invest their dollars. So I want to throw out for you ideas that you might want to consider that might happen going forward. And if I step back and say, what is one of the issues that I think is really important when managing money? It's all about how you allocate your assets. It's not the stock usually that you buy, unless you invested in Uber. It's how do you allocate your assets to groups? And the allocation of your assets will drive your portfolio returns, but the allocation of your actions will drive your personal returns. And I think that we can do both here to really make a difference. And that's what I want to focus on. We can use blockchains plus AI plus humans to provide a major difference. But trust is key. And I know I've been in the markets for a really long time. There are moments across history where trust has been imploded, where markets imploded because trust just went away. Drexel Burnham went away because of the junk bond debt market crisis. There was a hedge fund called Long-Term Capital Management that made some heavy bets in currencies, and there was a major implosion. And we all know about the subprime challenges that created our most recent recession. And I say one answer, obviously, is blockchain, because it's an electronic handshake. It's the PDF for transactions. And imagine, therefore, if you can verify your assets and you can verify who you are, what good can come from that? And I wanted to pause and say some of the things that I've done so far in terms of investing just using AI. There's a company you should be aware of called English Helper. It helps about 1 million kids around the globe. A gentleman named Venkat founded it. He was the original founder of a company called Rage. And it's now in operation in India and South America and in the United States, where you're teaching people, young kids and adults, how to speak English, how to write English, and it changes the trajectory of their life using AI. Another company that I've advised and invested in is a company called Steamroll, and it gives exposure to individuals into the STEM area. So many young people can say, if I want to go into STEM, who are the individuals that are behind the positions? And suddenly they can identify with them. If it's women or underrepresented groups, they could see, wow, you do that, I could do that too. And I think that that's powerful. And the third is a company called Catalyte, which uses AI to take individuals, regardless of their academic background, to see whether or not they have, and test, and to see whether or not they have the proficiency to be able to work in technological careers. And it's interesting, in many cases, people have not gone to college, but they test to see if they could be trained, and suddenly they're paid well above minimum wage, and the trajectory of not only their lives, but their families' lives expand. And so this is an example of some of the investments that you can make with AI. And I think even in the more liquid markets, you can make a difference. So imagine for a moment if you had, get my little prop here, water. And you go to the store, and suddenly you have your phone, you have an app, and you scan it. And it'll suddenly say, well, is Poland Springs responsible? What were all of the violations that they have? Were they cited for any slave trade labor, or do they have, is it fair trade, or anything that you care about? How are they treating the environment? But if we are transparent about information around the company, you can make a difference. There's a company called Ethic, and I want you to be aware of this, because Ethic can help you invest in any index around the world and call it for your values. So if your mother, like my mother, died of cancer, and I don't like smoking, she was a heavy smoker, I might want to invest in the MSCI World Index, but I don't want anything to have to do with tobacco. And then you can decide, do you not want to own a company that manufactures tobacco? Definitely, or maybe I don't even want companies that will sell cigarettes. So I might not own Walmart in the S&P 500, but it's called Ethic. And they're using AI technology and making this fully available for you. So as an investor, I think that increasingly women and millennials and others who are investing can hold companies accountable, and that the blockchain technology and AI will allow you to be able to be a much more responsible investor. So I'm taking the time here to ask you to think about what is it that we can do, and what questions might we want to ask when humans get together with the power of AI and humans get together with the power of blockchain. And I'd like to introduce you to a couple more. I told you about the power of the purse. Women, I'm talking about women here because I don't think many people fully appreciate how much power women have over what we purchase. And it's been estimated that 80% of all buying decisions, including cars and houses and items and computers, women influence, because they're overlooking their children, and we're influencing, even the husbands might be working, or they're working full time, but women are making a lot of the decisions. And the Boston Consulting Group most recently said that the private wealth, just between 2010 and 2015, women grew from 34 trillion to 51 trillion. That's huge, and we know that we care a lot about how our money is invested. So we're going to hold more management teams accountable, and if you have something like a barcode that can show because of blockchain and the information that's shared, that would be really powerful. I think management teams would have to pay attention. I have a little story that many people don't know, but there was an analyst at my firm that noticed that Walgreens had no men in their senior management pool. In contrast, CVS did. And suddenly, and let me take the names out. So there was one company with no, this is back there, too late. Maybe we can edit that. So an analyst noticed that there was one company that had no men in their management team, and the others had a spattering of women. The growth of the company that had the women soared, mainly because they came up with products that women used. So it happened to be a combination of the little products that were products that would help your children. that you can pick up on the go. So for example, instead of getting just regular aspirins, there might be a little kit that had several different products that you can put in a car. There were things that women would think about that solved pain problems that men never really thought about. And it just shows the importance of the diversity that will come from a diversity of thought. But most importantly, the reason I'm saying this is that the power of women continue in terms of how they might invest. That's a picture of that. Let me go forward. And I told you about Steamroll. Catalyte, you should look them up. There's some information about them as well. And then lastly, I want to talk about how I think the blockchain can help. We talked a little bit about people who are not involved in the financial system. There are about 2 billion people that are outside of the financial system. And what I know, I studied, I went to Duke undergrad, and for part of the time, I went to Kenya. And there are these communities where, outside of the city, where women and families would raise money to start businesses because they'd put a little money aside. Everyone in the community would give something, and when, I forgot the name of it, but when the money came around to you, who said it? Susu, yes. So imagine using blockchain to create Susu, because many people who are outside of the community, the financial industry, they don't trust the financial industry, but the blockchain will allow you to do that because you have an identity, and you know other people that are in this community, they have an identity. And more importantly, I talked about allocating your energies appropriately. I care about that. So I would happily sign into a community that's going to empower women around the world, because I know that if they make money, they're going to spend money on their communities. So using blockchain, we can create these small investment communities where I would be willing to give money to the broader community in a blockchain that's going to empower women that want to start businesses around the globe. Does that make sense? And I think because of that identity, it would be really, really, really quite powerful. I want to jump to wealth disparities. This is just, I'm throwing out ideas, and I want to discuss how else we might be able to just brainstorm on how we can make a difference. 401ks. How many of you have a 401k? Yes, I do too, and many times it's matched, but many of us do not. And the wealth disparity is absolutely huge. Imagine if we could use the blockchain for people to put money aside and then invite companies that have CRC credits that they want to spend on people in communities, that they agree to match the monies of those who agree to invest for a while. I don't know if I explained that really well, but I think this is a really powerful, powerful concept, because many of you in the room have resources, but others have income but don't know exactly how to invest it. I'm willing to teach people how to invest it, but wouldn't it be powerful if we could use a blockchain community to say we will match whatever you save? And lastly, the criminal justice, the opioid crisis, targeted taxes. Imagine if you spent $10,000 in taxes, but you could say that I would rather put 60 away for the main expenses, but I'm going to put 40% of my 10,000 or all of my taxes. I'd like to put it towards education, because right now only 2% of the budget goes towards education. And if we use blockchain, we could know where our monies were going with taxes in general governments. So I think that the potential cases for using blockchain and AI and technology and humans is really quite powerful. And I know I had 5 minutes, so I'm rushing along, but thank you so much, and I welcome your involvement.